Well, where are you going?
I don't know. But I'm not taking her back in there. Not to that prison, I'm not. You can help us if you want to, Mick. But if you don't, we'll never see you again. I mean that.
But if the women are in favour of the scheme with the idea of getting full-time study for everyone in the future, they might be prepared to make the sacrifice now. It's the only way I can see around the Screws boycott.
I'm not so sure. I think you give up too easily.
You know, I think B's going to win this round. They're going to have to agree to full-time study for her.
Okay, girls, down tools.
What?
We're on strike.
Strike? Beauty! What are we going on strike for?
The Screws are trying to foul up the Braille machine project. They reckon if an instructor comes in from outside to show me the routine, one of the Screws has to supervise me.
Yeah, you probably reckon she's going to try and race them off, you know?
Yeah, and the union says they're too short-staffed as it is. It would mean overtime and extra shifts if one of them had to stand guard over me.
Well, why do you need supervising?
Oh, well, they probably think she's going to send out secret messages and Braille.
Regulations. The only other alternative is if the teacher stands guard over me, which means you lot miss out on your classes. Oh, calm down, calm down. That's not going to happen either.
Yeah, well, I think it's a bit rotten that all of us have to suffer just because one person wants to learn how to use a Braille machine.
Well, that's exactly what I'm getting at. Can't you see they're trying to play us off against one another?
So we go on strike.
Right. They think they can stuff us around. They've got another thing coming.
But we're going to show them that we can stick together to get what we want, right?
Yeah, we might only be prisoners, but we know our rights. Up the revolution!
The union's got to take a tougher stand.
I agree. These new projects only make more work for the officers.
It's ridiculous. In many ways, the women are better off than we are. The department introduces new schemes. It makes life easier for them without any thought for us.
It's the same old story, and I think there's far too much notice being taken of the non-union personnel who dream up these schemes.
Well, I'll be damned if I'll be rep for a milksop union. If they want a show of strength, then by God, they'll get it.
How long do you reckon it'll be before the Screws find out about it?
Oh, not long. Just a few more minutes, I reckon. Now, remember, we all stick together on this one.
That's right. We can't afford to show the least little sign of weakness.
All right, what's going on?
Can't you see? We're on strike.
I see. What for?
Our rights.
What are you talking about, Smith?
Bee was supposed to start work on the Braille machine, but now they've blocked it because they told her she had to have an officer present, and they claim there's no one available.
Yeah, well, that's right. The Mr. Andrews was available. After all, it was his idea.
And that's what you all want, isn't it? That'd put an end to the classes. Yeah. Less work for you, more work for us. You'd like that, wouldn't you?
You should know from past experience that you'll get nowhere like this.
Yeah? Well, we'll see, won't we? But until then, there'll be no work done.
Can't you see what she's trying to do? She's trying to get you to stand up for her own private privilege. She's using you.
It's not just for Bee, you know. It's for all of us. I mean, if we don't make a stand somewhere, things are going to be worse here than they were before.
What a load of old codswallop, Bryant. Now get back to work. I'm ordering you. All right, I'm warning you. You're deliberately disobeying a lawful command, and for that you can be charged.
Just careful.
You realize you can be sent to solitary for this, Doreen?
Yes.
Then get back to work.
I'm on strike with all the others, Mr. Fletcher.
All right, I'll go away and give you time to reconsider. And while I'm gone, consider this. For this stupid action, you could lose all of your privileges.
Wow,
He's running scared. They know they've got a fight in their hands, otherwise he would never have backed down. You all did very well, ladies. Round one to us.
Chrissy, for God's sake, be reasonable. Well, can't you see what you're doing? If we don't get her back now, we'll lose her for good.
No, I've waited long enough. She's staying with me, and that's final.
We're late getting her back as it is. What do you think they're doing at the home? They've probably called the cops already.
Well, don't just stand there. Give us a hand.
No. We'd be on the run again, and how far do you think we'd bloody get?
Don't answer it. Mick, don't answer it.
Hello?
Oh, hello, Mick. I've been trying to get onto you for ages. What's going wrong?
Hello, Mrs. Morris.
Tell her you haven't seen me. I've gone out with Elizabeth and you don't know where I am.
Don't be bloody stupid. Oh, Chrissy's gone off her head, Mrs. Morris. She's refusing to take the kid back to the home. She reckons she's going to shoot through and take Elizabeth with her.
Bloody kill you for this. Give me that phone.
Mick, you've got to stop her. The matron's been on to me. She knows something's wrong.
She won't listen to reason, Miss...
Now, look, it's all right for you. It's not your baby, is it? I'm not in Wentworth now, you know. I can look after her myself.
Chrissy, this is not the way to do it. Now, take Elizabeth back, please. I know how you must feel, but think about your parole.
No, I've had enough. They got no bloody right. I'm her mother.
I'm going to hang up now, Mrs. Morris. This is not getting us anywhere.
Mick, the matron said she'd give you 2 hours' grace before ringing the police. Now, that was over an hour ago.
Leave it to me, Mrs. Morris. I'll get her back. You can forget it, Chrissy. You're not going to do it.
Oh, no. Just you watch me. You can come with us if you like, Mick, or you can go to hell.
Yeah, well, I've got the car keys and the money. How far do you think you're going to get?
Stuff your car keys and stuff your money. I've always been able to get by without you. There's plenty of people want what I can give them.
Yeah, and what a great sort of a life that's going to be for Elizabeth. In a few years' time, she'll be standing just about where you are now. Is that how much you love her?
Shut up, Mick. Just shut up. It'll be all right when I've got time to think and work it all out. I just want to get her away from here before it's too late.
It's already too late. The only place you're taking Elizabeth is back to the baby's home with me.
So they've downed tools and say they're on strike.
If only Mr. Andrews hadn't informed them of the scheme before it was properly arranged.
But I told you from the start, he had too much enthusiasm and not enough common sense.
He's worked very hard and done a lot of good for the women.
It may be so, but at what cost? He's pushed so hard and so fast that he's alienated the staff, with the result that we might have 2 strikes on our hands.
Oh, I really had high hopes of a whole new level of prisoner cooperation.
Well, they're really digging their heels in over this one. It's not going to be easy to talk them round.
Well, I shall just have to try. How was the work output in the laundry before they went on strike?
Well, luckily, they've been working flat out. I think they were trying to prove that they could get by without Smith so she could go onto this braille machine. No, you've got no worries there. There's a whole stockpile of clean laundry.
Well, we can be grateful for that, at least.
This is much more fun than cleaning him.
I said, don't chuck it. Dressed as a ghost. Dressed as a ghost.
What on earth's going on in here? Birds! Wordsworth, are you out of your mind?
Haven't you heard, Miss Bennett? We're working to regulations. We did far too much work over the last couple of days, and we turned out more clean laundry than we need to.
So we decided, rather than muck up the system, we're going to put things back to what they was.
Could you excuse me, please, Miss Bennett? I think those sheets are dirty enough.
And I think this has gone far enough. Now get back to work, and I want all this laundry back through the machines immediately.
Oh, sorry, Vera, we can't oblige. You see, we're on strike.
What for?
Our rights.
Please, Mick. It tears my guts out every time I have to hand her back. I just can't stand it anymore. I just want her to be with us.
Oh, I know, love. But you've got to realise you'd only be making it worse. They'll never let you keep her this way.
Oh, don't let him in, Mick.
Missy? Mick, are you there? It's Mick Morris.
Well, what's the situation? Chrissy, you must realise that if you want to keep Elizabeth for good, you've got to go through the right channels. Oh, believe me, I do understand what you're going through. But if you try to run away with her, you'll never get custody.
I love you and Elizabeth too much to see you go through that. She's got to have the chance to start life properly with us.
Oh, yeah, living in an institution. I mean, what kind of a start has she had already? I just wanted to get her out of there, that's all.
Look, it won't be for long. She's still a baby. She doesn't realise yet. Mr. Muirhead at the department was very impressed with my verbal report, and he's going to do everything in his power to speed up the processing. But we must get Elizabeth back straight away, or all that work will go for nothing.
What do you say, Chrissy?
Oh, I can't seem to win with you two, can I?
All right, then. All right, well, let's get started. I've got my car outside. I'll drive you both back. Well, come on. Let's get moving. Every minute counts. Yeah. I'll just get Elizabeth.
Thanks for that, Mrs. Morris.
I will not tolerate standover tactics. It achieves nothing. You should have learnt this from past experience.
Well, we don't like to do it, but sometimes it's the only way we can get our point across.
You know my door is always open if there are any genuine grievances.
Well, I'm very sorry, Mrs. Davidson, but there's not much point in having an open door if we're told one thing in there and then something entirely different when it comes to the crunch.
Like what, Smith?
Like me being told I'd have 5 full days on the Braille machine. Then the next thing you know, it's only 3, and then the whole thing's scotched because of some rubbish about supervision.
Yeah, if we all get supervised, we're all going to miss out on our classes.
Yeah. You were told about that scheme before it had been properly worked out with the rest of the staff members.
Well, that sounds like a big put-off to me. We know the officers aren't happy with us getting anything that means extra work for them. They'd be happier if we were locked up in our cells all day. Well, if we have to fight for the right to be treated like human beings, we'll fight.
This is getting completely out of hand. We have always been more than willing to...
Prisoners' rights! Where are your big rights? Prisoners' rights!
It is no good trying to reason with them when they're in this sort of a mood. I want you to get them all back to their cells. If you have any trouble with them, Mr. Fletcher, lock them in here and get some more officers to help you.
The stockpile of clean laundry they'd built up has been ground into the floor and it's filthy again. If this strike goes on, there'll be no clean laundry at all.
Then they'll just have to do without clean laundry, won't they? If they want to behave like this, well, let them.
Mick, it's the cops.
Don't worry, darling, you'll be all right.
Turn around and go back. Let's get out of here.
Oh, come on, take it easy. It's going to be all right.
It won't. It won't be all right. They'll take her away from me. I know it. Now stop the car.
Look, we've come this far. We're not backing down now. The main thing is we've brought her back. Now just let me do the talking.
We're not complete ogres, Mrs. Morris. We are constantly aware of the strain that exists, and we try to do our best to ease the tension. But when our efforts are abused...
Well, unintentionally, matron. And the important thing is that Elizabeth is back.
Nevertheless, it's still a breach of trust. If only they'd had the consideration to phone me and let me know they were going to be late. It would have at least saved me the embarrassment of calling the police out for no reason.
Yes, that was most unfortunate, and they are aware of their lack of consideration. But it is very hard for them only seeing their child twice a week and for such a short time.
Well, I'm afraid, because of their thoughtlessness, that will no longer be the case. From now on, they will go back to the regulation 1 visit a week. I'm sorry, gentlemen, to have brought you out for nothing.
It's all right, matron.
Thanks, matron, for not taking it any further.
Come on, I'll drive you home.
Nick O'Brien. Name doesn't match the face, and I've seen that face before. We've got a bit of checking to do.
Ground rats, come on.
Quieten down, you're not trouble this.
How do you reckon we'll go?
Ah, we'll get there. Just wait until they start running out of clean laundry and they can't fulfill the outside contracts. That'll give us a stronger bargaining position.
Oh, they'll only send it outside to some other laundry.
Oh, the department wouldn't like that. Think of the expense.
Oh, Davo's no fool. She'll think of something.
Mrs. Davidson's got one weak point. She can't afford any more bad PR. So I'll give them a while to think about it. If they don't come up with a decent offer, I'll just make sure that word gets out to the press.
Yeah, that'll put the cat among the pigeons.
And who knows what else we might be able to bargain for. Yeah, I think this strike might just serve us very well.
Yeah. Break the monotony, won't it?
Are they from Kevin?
Oh, no. Threw those ones out ages ago. No, these are from Mr. Peter No Hope. Told him I never wanted to hear from him again.
Oh, why not?
Well, the last time he was here, I gave it to him pretty hard. Told him that he was making a fool of himself and me by getting dressed up as a teenager. It was really pathetic.
Poor guy. What was he like?
Oh, he was all right, I suppose. It was just the stupid way he looked.
Well, honey, maybe he was just feeling insecure, you know, wanted to make an impression.
Well, it didn't work, silly old fool.
Well, I think you're being a bit hard on him, Doreen. I mean, it wasn't as though he was trying to get you into bed or anything like that. And he didn't seem to mind you being in prison.
Yeah. Well, he should have been more honest with me instead of making a fool of me in front of all the other women.
Were you honest with him?
No.
Well, there you are. Look, honey, I can understand that your pride would have been hurt, but you would have hurt him too, you know, by the way you treated him.
Yeah. He was pretty upset. I suppose I was a bit rough on him. Anyway, it's too late now.
Well, it might not be, love. Look, why don't you write to him, you know? Explain that you understand what he was trying to do and that now you've thought it over, it doesn't matter.
I don't know.
Oh, go on. You'll feel better for it.
I suppose I could.
You could do it now. I mean, what else are you going to do? We're locked up in here all the time.
All right.
Good. Well, at least I'll be able to have some quiet to finish my reading. Well, what's wrong now?
Just remembered they've brought censorship back. How can I write what I really think with Vera poring over it and laughing her head off? Next thing I know, it'll be all over the prison.
Well, our best bet will be to get hold of a legal aid officer to help us get custody.
A bit of a change for us, Chrissy. Being in court, not in the dock.
Yeah. Will also help if you get married as soon as you can. You still intend getting married, don't you?
Oh, yeah. We'll do anything if it means we get Elizabeth out of there quicker.
Well, showing that you've got a nice place to live in and a suitable home for Elizabeth will help a great deal.
Don't worry, Mrs. Morris. We'll do everything we can to show we're perfectly respectable citizens.
And no more thoughts about running away?
No, I'll behave myself.
Well, in that case, things should move pretty quickly. Well, I must be off. And just remember, as long as you go through the right channels, you've got a lot going for you. I'll be in touch.
Thanks, Mrs. Morris.
Bye.
Chrissy, when Mrs. Morris asked if we were going to get married, you said you'd do anything to get Elizabeth back quicker. Is that the only reason you're going to marry me? I mean, I don't mind. I just wanted to know.
Oh, Mick. I've been real hard on you, haven't I? You've been so good to Elizabeth and me. And I know I've been a real bitch, and I'm sorry. But it won't be the only reason I'm marrying you, honest.
I think it's a result of being too soft on them. They should all lose their privileges as punishment.
Well, I can understand their reaction to a degree, but the fact remains is they shouldn't have been told about it until we'd discussed it thoroughly.
It's the same old story. Show them any kindness at all and they always abuse it.
Well, I've just been around to the union members in the other blocks, and there's very strong feeling against the supervision of visiting tutors, or any classes if it comes to that.
Well, there'll be some strong opposition from the do-gooders in the department.
Well, they just have to put up with it, won't they? It's hard enough to get the staff to carry out normal duties, let alone the extra work involved in supervising rehabilitation projects.
Exactly. And if it comes to the crunch, I know the members will definitely strike.
Well, that'll be a laugh. The prisoners will think that we're taking a leaf out of their book.
What do you mean?
What haven't you heard? The prisoners in the laundry have gone on strike over this braille machine business. There was a danger of the project falling through or the classes being cancelled because we haven't got the staff to cope with it.
So they've actually gone and done it. I'm going to see the governor.
Come in.
Can I see you for a minute, Mrs. Davidson?
Yes, Mrs. Powell, what is it?
I've just heard about the women in the laundry going on strike.
Yes?
Mrs. Davidson, this strike isn't being caused by a few disgruntled women who think they're going to miss out on some new privilege. This is a deliberately planned strike, led by none other than our so-called education officer.
David Andrews?
Yes. And I can prove it.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Andrews. And how are we this morning?
Fine.
Good. Looking forward to another fun-filled day improving the lot of the underprivileged?
Can't wait to start shedding the light of hope.
Oh, how fortunate the little darlings are to have you as their mentor. Oh, Mr. Andrews, almost forgot. Mrs. Davidson, she'd like to see you in her office.
Any idea what for?
Got a fair idea.
It's a secret, is it?
Oh, I think she'd like to tell you herself.
Oh, don't tell me it's a public holiday.
Well, what time is it then?
It should be open by now.
You're jumping the gun a bit. We don't open till 9.
It's 2 minutes past.
Well, what can I do for you?
We want to get married.
I'm afraid it's not as simple as that.
Why not?
First of all, you have to fill in the notice of intended marriage form. Then, after that's been submitted, you have to wait 1 month and 1 day before you can actually be married.
1 month and 1 day? That's bloody ridiculous.
I'm sorry, but that's the law, madam.
Well, we can't wait that long.
She didn't mean it that way. Get the form. Let's fill it out.
Were you both born in Australia?
No, I was born in England.
Well, we'll need both your birth certificates, or in your case, madam, your passport.
Godfather, all this carry on just to get married.
And it'll cost you $20 for the ceremony, or $25 if it's a weekend.
Yeah, they get you every way, don't they?
That's what you have to do if you want to get married. It's not up to us, I'm afraid. It's...
Yeah, I know. It's the law.
Officer Powell claims that the strike by the women in the laundry is a deliberately planned operation, and she accuses you of being the instigator.
It's ridiculous. When I left here last night, I had no idea this was going to happen.
Are you quite sure about that, Mr. Andrews?
Of course I'm sure. The last time I spoke to Smith, I asked her, would the women be prepared to forego their classes so that I could supervise her on the braille machine?
Well, under the circumstances, that is a fairly inflammatory question in itself.
It was only fair that they should be considered.
Mr. Andrews, on the previous afternoon, I personally overheard you telling the women to withhold their labour to demand their rights. Isn't that true?
Well, I suppose I did say that, but that's completely out of context.
Oh, out of context or not, that is a very dangerous statement to make.
I know it sounds like that, but it wasn't like that at the time. All right, I admit I was being rash.
Rash? Under the circumstances, it was tantamount to inciting a riot.
Mrs. Powell, I would like to speak to Mr. Andrews alone. Do you mind?
No, of course not.
What on earth do you think you were doing? I already have the threat of industrial action by the staff because of overwork, and this is just adding fuel to the fire.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Davidson. It's all getting out of hand.
It certainly is. I cannot afford to lose the goodwill of my officers. I must show them that I am concerned about their welfare as well as that of the prisoners.
Yes, I know, but the prisoners have rights, too.
Of course. But there is never a shortage of prisoners. There is always a shortage of officers. By your impetuousness, you have not only damaged your reputation and the good work you have already done, but you may very well have destroyed the whole future of the education centre. I must warn you that if the department finds out that you are in any way responsible for inciting the prisoners to strike, they are bound to ask for your resignation.
Come in.
Mrs. Morris?
Yes?
Tony Morton, Legal Aid Service.
Ah, yes. Sit down. Thanks for coming over so quickly.
You said on the phone you wanted me to handle a court application for,
Elizabeth Latham.
Latham, yes.
Yes, that's right. Well, because of the emotional strain, I consider it an absolute necessity that they be reunited with as quickly as possible for the mental well-being of the mother.
That urgent, eh?
Yes, it is. As it is, only yesterday she was on the verge of running away with the child, and that'd be disastrous.
And what about the father?
Well, he's definitely the more stable of the two, but together, I think they could settle down and make excellent parents.
Does he have a criminal background?
Yes?
Yeah, well, normally it's a fairly straightforward procedure. The parents' criminal backgrounds could create problems, but if they have good character references and it looks as though they're trying to lead normal, law-abiding lives, they should be all right.
Well, I don't think we'll have any trouble proving that.
If it's okay with you, I think we should try to arrange to see them later on this morning.
Terrific. Oh, well, I'll give them a ring and we'll set up a time.
B.
Oh, g'day. Well, we've put this place into a bit of panic, haven't we?
You sure have, but that's not all.
What's up?
Officer Powell overheard me saying how you could take action over this braille machine business. She reported it to the governor. Now I'm being blamed for the strike, and there's a good chance that I could get fired.
What? That's ridiculous. You had nothing to do with it. It was our decision.
Yeah, well, they're not seeing it that way. On top of that, there's talk of the officers going on strike. And there's a good chance that the education centre will close down. I'm being blamed for alienating officers and prisoners.
Oh, bloody hell, that wasn't supposed to happen. If you go, we're right back where we started from.
Look, B, there's a lot of things in here that I don't approve of, but you've got to take it gently. You can't change the system that fast.
Mr. Andrews, what are you and Smith hatching up between you now? A mass breakout?
I was trying to explain...
Do I have to remind you it is against regulations for you to be unaccompanied in the dormitory block?
I know
You
that.
will leave the area immediately.
Well, did you hear that? You know what I think? I think the screws have got their teeth into Mr. Andrews and they're using him as a scapegoat. And whether we like it or not, if we go on strike, we'll just be adding fuel to the fire.
How about you, then? Purple curtains and orange walls, honest.
What's wrong with that? Kids need a lot of colour.
Oh, yeah, colour, but not ones that are going to make them sick.
Yeah, wait till you see what I got picked out for our room.
Yeah,
Red
what?
and black.
Oh, sounds just like a place I used to work in. Hello? Oh, hello, Mrs. Morris. Yeah, we've just been out and bought stuff for the flat. Who? Tony Morton? Yeah, I suppose so. What? Oh, I see. Yeah, get off. Oh, no, not you, Mrs. Morris. No, it's Mick he's mucking about. Yeah? Oh, that'll be great. OK, then. I'll see you later. Ta-da. She's bringing some geezer round from the legal aid. He's going to help us get Elizabeth back through the courts.
You know, she's pretty good, isn't she? She doesn't muck about.
No, well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? I mean, I can see that now. You two were both right. The only way we're going to get Elizabeth back is through them courts, isn't it?
That's right, Chrissy. We'll fight and we'll win. Don't you worry about that.
Oh, yeah. We're going to win all right, Mick. Well, come on, then. We've got loads of things to do. How about we start on Elizabeth's room, eh? After you, then.
Always have been.
Oh, you cheeky thing. Get on. Oh!
Never lets up, does he?
Who?
David Andrews. Just had to throw him out of the dormitory wing.
Well, that wouldn't be the first time. What was he doing there?
Oh, talking to Smith and Birdsworth, probably hatching up another plan. I'm fed up with that bloody school teacher. He's definitely becoming a security risk.
I agree. The school's been nothing but a waste of time.
Well, thanks for the vote of confidence, ladies. If you thought about it sensibly, you'd realise that I'm trying to improve security.
Really? What do you suggest? We let them all out so then they don't have to try and escape? It's the best one you've come up with so far, Mr. Andrews.
If a prisoner has something constructive to do, something that she likes doing, she's far less likely to upset the system. And as for the education centre, it's designed to keep them out of places like this. If they'd all had a bit more practical education in the first place, they probably wouldn't be in here.
This lot don't want education. They're just using your schemes to get out of what they're supposed to be doing.
Yes, the school hasn't made the slightest difference at all to their attitudes. It's been a complete failure.
Oh, for God's sakes, you're condemning the school after only a few weeks.
All your so-called rehabilitation schemes have done nothing but cause trouble from the start and made our jobs impossible. Discipline and security have never been worse.
Well, you'd be happier in Belson, wouldn't you, Mrs. Powell? Discipline? Bring on the gas ovens?
Don't think I haven't thought about it.
Yes, well, I can see it now, the Witch of Wentworth.
I don't think that was necessary.
Look, OK, I was joking. Here's something I'm not joking about. From now on, I will make sure that not one union member cooperates with you or your crazy schemes.
My relationship with the rest of the staff has reached a point where my presence here makes it impossible for any new rehabilitation scheme to have any chance of success.
I don't think it's quite that serious. It just needs both sides to see the other's point of view.
I'm afraid not, Mrs. Davidson. I think it's gone too far. It's reached a stage where there's a vendetta against me.
I do think you are overreacting, David. Give it a little time to settle down. And then, in the meantime, tread a little more carefully.
That isn't possible. Now, I feel very strongly about the education centre in particular. If I continue on here, there's a good chance that it'll close. I have to resign. That way the school may have a hope in someone else's hands.
I see. David, I like you, and I appreciate your efforts in trying to make improvements in the system. But I can see you have thought this over very carefully before making your decision, and under the circumstances, it is probably the wisest move. But I shall be very sorry to see you leave.
Thank you.
I shall inform the Education Department that you are being forced to resign for personal reasons, and that I have the highest regard for your work here.
It's very kind of you, Mrs. Davidson. I haven't exactly been a roaring success, have I?
Don't downgrade your achievements. You have made the women want to learn, to think of something else other than their day-to-day existence in here. That is of enormous value.
You know, I'm beginning to wonder if it's all worth it.
But you said that was the only way we could get our rights.
It was before. I didn't know they were going to blame Andrews for it.
What difference does that make?
Well, he happens to be the only one who gives a damn about us for a start. And if they blame him for us going out on strike, they'll shoot him out of here so fast he'll get a nosebleed. Maybe I should call it off.
Well, have you and your friends had enough of being locked up yet?
No. We're quite happy to stay here until you screws realise just how important it is for us to get some training so we can get a decent job when we leave.
I wouldn't worry about that if I were you, Smith. By the time you get out of here, you'll be too old to work.
I wasn't thinking of myself, Vera. I was thinking of the other poor sods in here.
How touching. Anyway, how much work do you think's available for braille machine operators? It's not a paid job, and it's nearly always done by little old ladies to help out in charity work. Probably why they offered it to you.
Dried up old bitch.
You can say that again.
Well, come in then. Sit down. Make yourself at home.
What's up?
Sorry about the mess the place is in, but we've been decorating Elizabeth's room, see?
Want to have it as nice as possible for when we get Elizabeth back.
Yeah. Can I get you a cup of tea?
No, thanks.
Not for me, thanks, Chrissy.
Look, I haven't got very much time. I've got a lot on today, but I thought I'd like to at least meet you, try to explain the situation, and then we can go into more detail later on.
Right. What do we have to do then?
Well, as a ward of the state, you can apply to the department for Elizabeth to be released as long as you can fulfil certain conditions.
What are they?
It's basically a matter of showing yourselves to be capable parents, providing a decent place for your daughter to live, providing security, and showing yourselves to have the mental stability to handle the job.
Oh, there'll be no worries there then.
Yeah, what about us both having criminal records?
Well, I'm not going to pretend that isn't going to make a difference, but as long as you can show yourselves to be completely reformed and willing to lead a lawful life, then I'll say you'll be all right.
And, well, what if the application should fail for some reason?
Well, then you can apply to the Supreme Court to have your daughter made a ward of the court.
What good's that going to do?
Well, it's not very easy, and the laws pertaining to children are hopelessly out of date. But the idea is to show that neither the court nor the state are better parents than you are.
That won't be very hard to do then.
Yes. Well, look, hopefully it won't reach that far, but I'd like to initiate proceedings with the Department of Community Welfare, and then I can appear at the meeting with you.
Oh, that'd be marvellous. How soon?
Well, I'll check in my diary for the earliest possible date, and then we can work out a case to present to the department.
Can I help you?
Oh, I'd like to see the governor, if I may.
I'll see if she's available. Did you have an appointment?
No.
What's the name, please?
Hope. Peter Hope.
Peter Hope. Right.
And how can I help, Mr. Hope?
Well, I've realized that Doreen was right. I was making a complete fool of myself, and no one else bothered to point it out to me. No doubt they just laughed at me behind my back. She was the only one with the courage to tell me to my face.
I imagine it must have been a very hard lesson to learn.
Yes, it was at first, but now I've come to terms with it, I feel a lot better.
I am glad. But What do you want me to do?
Well, I feel I owe Doreen a debt of gratitude. I know she must be very lonely in here, otherwise she wouldn't have written to me in the first place.
Yes?
Well, I'd like to offer her some form of outside contact. No strings attached, of course. I thought it might help both of us if we were, well...
Friends?
Yes.
Well, I think it would be a very nice idea, but don't you think you should ask Doreen yourself?
Oh, yes. I mean, may I?
Yes, of course. I'll arrange it for you.
Yeah, you should knock first. You only got a mug of coffee in your face. I thought it was Vera.
You're a big game coming here so soon after last time, aren't you?
It doesn't matter anymore. I've come to say goodbye.
What do you mean goodbye?
Where are you going?
I've just handed in my resignation.
Oh, that's bloody lovely, isn't it? Copping out the minute the going gets rough.
Well, I didn't have an option.
Why didn't you fight?
I tried that, Lizzie, but it just doesn't seem to work. Not only for me, but for you and for what I was trying to achieve. It's a no-win situation. It's impossible for me to go on working here.
The screws in the union, right?
Partly, but it's also my fault. I tried to go too far too fast.
Ken Pierce always used to say a little bit at a time and make them think the ideas are coming from them.
Yes, well, I should have talked to him more. Anyway, you should call off the strike. You'll only do damage to yourselves.
Oh, I'll think about it. If you're going now, it's not going to affect you. And we might still get some mileage out of it.
You're quite a bulldog, Bea.
Oh, thanks for the flattery.
Sorry you're going. I'm going to miss the pottery class.
Oh, don't worry, Lizzie. There'll be someone to replace me.
I wouldn't hang by me toenails waiting.
Well, what are you going to do now?
I don't know. I used to teach underprivileged kids. Maybe I can go back to that. Get them early, prevent them from finishing up in places like this.
Give the underdog a break, eh?
Always. Look after yourselves, Lizzie.
You too.
Bea. See you.
Yeah, sure. Bye, Teach.
All right, Burns, you wanted in the governor's office.
Why?
That's got nothing to do with you.
Oh, yes, it does. If you're going to try and take us out one at a time to get us to end the strike.
Why bother? You're much easier to look after locked up in here.
Well, I'm not going anywhere.
Yes, you are. You've got a visitor.
Who?
Peter Hope.
Tell him I'm not in and to leave a message.
You've got no choice. The governor wants to see you in her office, and that's an order.
When will that old rocker learn to leave me alone?
There's no way to talk about the governor.
Hello, Doreen.
That will be all, thank you, Mrs. Powell. Mr. Hope has come all the way out here to talk to you, Doreen.
I wrote, but I wasn't sure you got my letters. There wasn't any reply.
He must have got lost in the mail, eh? In any case, there wasn't much sense in writing back.
Well, I wrote telling you how much I appreciated what you told me the last time I was here.
Yeah, well, I was pretty rotten to you, wasn't I?
No, I deserved it. I was trying to be somebody I wasn't. You made me take a good look at myself and see how ridiculous I was. Thank you.
Oh, it's all right. I'm sorry if I hurt you.
Well, I did at first, till I thought about it, but I was so far gone I needed someone to pull me up with a jolt.
Well, you certainly got that.
Doreen, I was wondering, I'd like us to be friends. Just friends, of course. I thought we could go on writing to one another like we did before.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I mean, there's not much point.
Well, neither of us has anybody, and, well, I thought it'd be nice if we could write to each other. Look, don't feel bad about it. I understand. It was just a thought. Well, goodbye, Doreen. Thank you very much for all you've done for me. I think you're a very nice person.
No, I'm not. Oh, but I did enjoy your letters.
Oh, good. Well, if you ever change your mind, you have my address.
Yeah. Can I go back now? Bye, Peter.
Bye.
Not working, I'm calling it off.
You sure, B? We'll hang in there if you want us to.
No, we're not going to get the mileage out of it. Besides, we'll only be the ones to suffer in the long run.
Listen! Pass it on. I'm calling off the strike. Miss Bennett! Miss Bennett!
Miss! Well, you finally had enough. You poor fools never learn. I'll report your decision to Mrs. Davidson.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Hope. I'm sorry if it seemed a waste of your time.
Oh, no, Mrs. Davidson. I feel better now I've settled things with Doreen.
Yes, it's a pity she didn't agree to your suggestion, but you never know. When she thinks it over, she may change her mind.
I hope so. Anyway, thank you very much for your time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Leaving already?
Yes, I don't see any point in hanging around. Everything's tidied up.
Well, goodbye, David. I really am sorry it didn't work out.
Oh, there you are, Mrs. Davidson. Smith's finally given in. She's called off the strike.
Well, that's a relief. Did she ask for any terms?
No, it was a complete surrender.
I know you won't believe this, but I'm glad she made that decision. I did say to her that they were the only ones who would lose.
Really? Should have thought of that in the first place. Don't tell me you're leaving us.
Yes, you win. But please try to understand how important the education centre is to these people. They've got to be given a chance to improve themselves. In the end, it'll make your job a lot easier, I promise you.
You had your chance, Mr. Andrews, and you blew it. I'd say union members could well decide to withhold their labour from any future scheme.
Next time, it'll be different. Don't hold my mistakes against some other teacher.
If there is another teacher.
That is a matter between the department and myself, Mrs. Powell.
Yes, of course, Mrs. Davidson. And the union.
Yes, well, I must be going. I've got an appointment with the education department this afternoon.
Well, goodbye, David. And good luck.
I think you're going to need quite a lot of that yourself. Bye.
Goodbye. I want all the women concerned in this matter assembled in the recreation room, please.
All right, quiet and down.
Once again, you have taken action into your own hands. And once again, you have gained nothing by it. Not only that, you have lost, at least temporarily, the one privilege which eventually would have done you the most good. Mr. Andrews has resigned. Therefore, the education centre will be unavailable until we find a replacement.
But how long's that likely to take?
I'm afraid it could be quite some time. I assure you the centre is not closed, just unmanned at the moment. Further discussions will have to take place before classes are resumed.
And what about the Braille project?
At the moment, that will have to be abandoned until we have talks with the Prison Officers Union.
Are you trying to tell us that it's all right for them to strike, but not for us?
I realize how disappointed you must be. But I must warn you, any further disruption to the running of the prison will result in even sterner reprisals. You are far more likely to gain improvements to conditions by cooperation than militant action. That is all.
Mrs. Davidson, is that it? Surely going to hand down more punishment than that for them going on strike?
Loss of privileges, something.
I think they've lost enough privileges already.
As far as I'm concerned, we might still just as well be on strike.
Yeah, but we didn't gain a thing, and the way Officer Powell's pulling strings with the union, we're never going to get anything ever again.
Well, she's really coming to her own, that one, hasn't she? I think she's going to bear watching.
Give it to you. Hang on.
Oh, Collins. Bad. You got it the wrong way round.
Well, turn it. Oh, God, you It's so sticky now. Oh! Is that?
Come on.
No, you give us a kiss first. Come on. Yeah, yeah.
Come on.
Oh, look at the mess. You answer because I'm in a mess.
Michael Patrick O'Brien, also known as Mark Brendan. Placing you under arrest. Having escaped from Yatala Jail, South Australia on the 10th of December 1971, where you were serving a 6-year sentence for assaulting police. You have a right to remain silent, or you can make a statement. Anything to say?
No!
All right, young man. Chrissy!
Get away from me! No, please, don't say you don't. No!
He used to give me roses. I wish he could again. But that was on the outside, and things were different then.